Okay, it has been some time now since the release of the Percy Jackson teaser trailer, and I have a lot of theories in relation to how the show may be going in relation to this teaser in particular. And so that's what we're going to dive in. We're going to dive into my theories and predictions of how the show, or at least the first season of it, is going to be. Now, this very quick teaser, which again I was still not expecting remotely, and I'm very excited that we got it, does open up a lot of thoughts about how this first season is going to be, and maybe even how the rest of the seasons are going to go. Because by the time that this teaser had come out, they had only finished filming the first 2 episodes, and they are filming the show episodically. From what I remember hearing is that they are filming episodes 1 and 2, which is with the same director, which was James Bobin, episodes 3 and 4, which is a different director whose names I can't remember, episodes 5 and 6, and I think there are 8 episodes in total, but I don't think we know who is directing the last 2 episodes. We only know 3 directors so far. But they have Camp Half-Blood scenes, which is part of those first 2 episodes, we can assume, which says a lot about how this story is being streamlined, and also possibly about how long these episodes may be. I can't remember if there was a confirmation as to how long these episodes are going to be, but I have a feeling that these episodes may actually be the Marvel length of 40 minutes long, because they aren't going to be exclusively kid-like media, which is something that Rick has talked about. He wants the show to both be for the younger audiences, of course, because that was his target audience all along, but also to lean into the mature elements that have always been there in the story of Percy's anger, Percy's resentment, just the terrible stuff that does happen to these kids, sort of the themes and the styles that we get in the Last Olympian Titan's Cast, like the horrible stuff that does happen to these kids, which is quite mature in how things are presented, with the deaths, with the grief, with the horrible manipulative stuff that happens to these kids, is dark stuff. And even though kids media obviously does have dark stuff in it, showing a more maturity to these storylines, I think is very much the right direction to go, to really put a light on how dark these things can be without kind of taking it a little bit too far. I still think the show's definitely going to be sort of like PG. So I don't think it's going to be like full, gory, terrible, sort of stuff. It's still going to be kid friendly. They're just not going to hold back from showing the dark elements of the story, which I do really appreciate. But from that, I think the show is going to be 40 minutes long with each episode, and also they're definitely going to be cutting down quite a bit of the opening stuff in general. So the ideas as to what I think is going to be happening in these episodes is as follows. Episode 1 is covering the Mrs. Dodd storyline of them at the museum, and finding out that he's battled a monster, him then going home, and have that be more sort of the Mrs. Dodd situation is near the end of term. He's been told he's probably not going to be able to come back by Mr. Brunner. It's all very awkward. He's all very unhappy. Him and Grover go home. He abandons Grover because of, he realises that Grover is rich and it's uncomfortable. He gets home, terrible stuff happens. Him and his mum go to Montauk. Grover appears, Minotaur attacks, and they're on their way. We then have him arrive at camp in episode 2. He is traumatised, he's seen his mum die, something terrible has been going on here, and we also have the capture of the flag, the introduction to characters, and him being claimed. The main thing I think will be from this episode is the claiming and also the character introductions to Clarice, Luke, Annabeth, a bit more about Grover and Mr. Brunner, and of course Mr. D. But I think we'll also get a few cameos of other characters, like maybe Selena, maybe Beckendorf, maybe even the Stoll brothers, and maybe a few others, maybe like Chris, just to kind of just to flesh out some of the characters just in general. And it's those 2 episodes that are kind of the different clips that we saw within that teaser trailer. So it kind of makes sense that those 2 episodes are the things that they were covering, because that's what they'd filmed. We're then going to go into episode 3 and 4, and what I think is going to be covered the most in episode 3 and 4 is going to be the giving of the quest, the Oracle's prophecy for this quest, the fate, specifically at the Arch, based on the spoilers that we saw, or the spoiler leaks for set leaks for that, because it looked like the fates were there at the supposed Arch scene. which I think would be quite interesting for them to be placed there instead of earlier on, because he's already halfway through the quest, so it's a little bit more, this quest is clearly dangerous, even more than we realise sort of situation. And then also the Medusa element. That is, that's the right number. Because I think those are the things that will cover the most within episodes 3 and 4, because that is like quest heavy related stuff. And also we'll be finding our direction of like, we got to go to the underworld, but we also gain the pearls from the arch scene maybe at this point, so we don't have the San Francisco Bay aspect, just to kind of streamline things a little bit more. We'll then move into episodes 5 and 6, where we have the meeting of Ares, the love boat ride, going to Las Vegas, and then the Lotus Casino aspects. Now, because there's a lot of those things there, I think those will be the things that cover episodes 5 and 6. We've got to have the build up for the Ares situation, because Ares is very important to this story. But also I think the love ride stuff is a lot of fun. Disney, I think, would definitely want the love ride scene, because it's also great for a theme park ride. The Lotus Casino, obviously very important, because we get the hints for the stuff for Nico D'Angelo 2 seasons from now, and Bianca, of course. But also they've got to have the, oh god, our quest date is tomorrow, we've got to get it back and we have no time to do it, sort of panicky vibes. So all those things are very important. I think they need enough time to breathe. So episodes 5 and 6 covering Ares, Lotus, the journey to Las Vegas as well, of course, and just sort of more of those character moments between Annabeth, Percy and Grover, of course, with their journey to Las Vegas, with what happens in Las Vegas, and also the mini quest that they're given by Ares. We'll then be going to the last couple of episodes, well, the last 2 episodes, which is episode 7 and 8, which will be covering the underworld, the fight with Ares, the return of the Bolt, and the reveal of Luke. Now again, these are really important things that I think need kind of the room to breathe within these 2 episodes. So we have the getting to the underworld and the Ares fight in one episode, probably episode 7, and then we have the returning of the Bolt and the Luke reveal in episode 8, as well as the kind of like lead into season 2 at the end of the finale episode. And I think there's a lot that can be covered there, and I think these are just important enough that these 2 episodes, if they are 40 minutes long, we'll be able to cover these very well without it feeling rushed. I do still feel like there should have been 10 episodes, because there are definitely a few things that I feel probably won't have been covered as much, and I definitely would love more character moments in this season and just throughout. And I think 10 episodes of 40-minute length would have been perfect. But breaking these things down like this with the important plot points, having that room for those character interactions and this character growth and character relationship growth, I think can really work with this breakdown of these episodes. It's not perfect, and admittedly, of course, I don't know how it's going to go, but with how we've seen from the teaser of the fact that they have Camp Half-Blood scenes and had only filmed the first 2 episodes in full, with, I think they'd only just started episode 3 when the release of the teaser had come about. So definitely couldn't have been it couldn't have been anything from season 3. It had to have come from episodes 1 and 2. I think it's plausible that they are definitely streamlining the story a lot more, which, like, I am not against at all. I think it makes a lot more sense to streamline this story from what it was, because there was definitely a lot more unnecessary side quests in the story. Fun to read, don't get me wrong, but not always the most necessary. Things like the Procrustes, the going to the San Francisco Bay. I know it was to get the pearls around that period of time, but you can get the pearls from the arch. That's all you really need to do. You can just move it basically around. The length of time that it took to kind of really get into the magical world element. Obviously we had the whole Mrs. Dodge situation, but it took a while before we got to camp. So streamlining that down a little bit more as well. And I don't know, just kind of focusing more on characters rather than these big plot points and just this plot as a whole. Obviously the plot is important, but the side plots, you don't need many of those. Cut those down, focus more on character interactions and character moments. We need to build up Luke. We need to build up some of the side characters a little bit more. We need more of Annabeth, Percy and Grover together as a team. And I think if they're doing these 8 episodes with maybe 40 minutes, cutting down some of these side plots to focus on those elements is the best thing they can do. So I'm really looking forward to see how that comes out. But from this teaser, some basic ideas from me as to how it could end up going. So we'll just have to wait and see. And from what it's looking like on Disney Plus with the title card, It's going to be a while, but I'm excited all the same. I'm also intrigued to see if they're, like, the moment they finish filming season 1, they'll immediately start filming season 2. I feel like that wouldn't surprise me if they did, because, like, kids grow real quick. So, like, going straight into the filming of the next season would make a lot of sense, actually. So it's possible that Rick could be working on season 2 scripts, or maybe, like, the writer's room will be writing the season 2 scripts as we talk right now. Who knows? But anyway, what do you guys think? How do you think the show is going to be broken up episode-wise, based on what we've seen of the teaser so far, which is clips from episodes 1 and 2, I'm assuming. What do you think of my breakdown of this? Let me know in the comment section down below. I would love to hear your thoughts on this. And how are you feeling about the teaser now it's been a few weeks at this point? So comment those down below as well. As always, thank you all so much for tuning into this video. Check out my links to social media. Be sure to check out my debut novel, Home to the Wild, if you like found families and wolf stories. That is linked down below, as well as my Patreon, where if you want to support me, that is the place to do so. Can't support me financially, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, share this video with your friends, comment for the algorithm's sake, and yeah, again, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.